Ram Ram. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshuram Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Namo Krishna Gauravani Prachari Nirvishesh Shunevadi Pashatari Shatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Nana Shastra Vichare Chanitano Sahadama Samsapakam Lokanamitarino Tripuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro Radha Krishna Padaravinda Bhajana Nandana Matali Kayo Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalakam Vande Rupa Sanatana Raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalakam. Hare Krishna. Super Halka Gana. We can open the window. The windows are left open? Yeah. Hare Krishna. So we welcome everyone for today morning reading from NOI, Nectar of Instruction. We're on the 5th verse. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta.
Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta.
Dikshasi chat pranitibhischa bhajantamisham. Susrushaya bhajana vijnanam ananyamanya. Nindadishunya hiritam sita sangalatya. Hare Krishna. So just this one. Okay. The sound is coming properly, right? The sound has to go from Camlink?
You're very clear, Prabhu.
Okay, fine. ठीक है. Okay, Krishna Chandra Prabhu, let's begin with you. Please read the translation.
Translation, one should mentally honor the devotee who chants the holy name of Lord Krishna, should offer humble obeisances to the devotee who has undergone spiritual initiation, Diksha, and is engaged in worshipping the deity, and one should associate with and faithfully serve that pure devotee who is advanced in undeviated devotional service and whose heart is completely devoid of the propensity to criticize others.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So Srila Prabhupada, in this purpose, will now talk about 3 categories of Vaishnavas, Kanishta, Madhyama, and Uttamadhikari. Yesterday in our reading, we read a little bit of introduction about these 3 categories. Now from the next page in the purpose, Prabhupada begins to speak more about these categories of devotees. All right, Krishna Chandra, you are there, you can begin. And others who would like to read, they can raise their hands so I can call upon your name. Go ahead, please.
One should not remain a Kanishta Adhikari, one who is situated on the lowest platform of devotional service and is interested only in worshipping the deity in the temple. Such a devotee is described in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 11.247. Archayam eva harayai, pujam ya sridaya hate, natad bhakteshu chaneshu, cha sa bhakta prakarta smrita. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but who does not know how to behave towards devotees or people in general, is called Prakrta Bhakta or Kanista Adhikari. One therefore has to raise himself from the position of Kanista Adhikari to the platform of Madhyama Adhikari. The Madhyama Adhikari is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11-46 in this way: Ishwari Tat Adnyeshu Baleshu Vistashucha Prema Maitri Kripo Peksha Ya Kronitis Sa Madhyama. The Madhyama Adhikari is a devotee who worships the Supreme Personality of Godhead as the highest object of love, makes friends with the Lord's devotees, is merciful to the ignorant, and avoids those who are envious by nature.
Hare Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada, through this, what he has written so far, he's saying one should not remain at the Kanishta platform, Kanishta Adhikari platform. One should rise to the stage of Madhyama Adhikari. And very beautifully he describes here, he's quoting the 11th canto. What are the qualities of Madhyama Adhikari? Who loves the Supreme Personality Godhead, who loves the association of devotees, in other words, makes friends with the devotees, and who loves to show his compassion to those who are ignorant of the absolute truth. And while he does this, he also avoids, Yama Niyama is always there, and avoids association of those who are envious by nature. And extremely important in the sense of for a progressive devotee, because unless we are on this platform, we really cannot save ourselves from fault finding, disrespectful behavior towards other Vaishnavas, and various other offenses. So one has to strive consciously, to understand what are the qualities, what are the process of progress, and come to the stage of, progression. Okay, Prabhupada writes next. Let's have somebody else read now. Mother Sadhya Vilasini, please read the next paragraph.
This is a way to cultivate devotional service properly. Therefore, in this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami has advised us how to treat various devotees. We can see from practical experience that there are different types of Vaishnavas. The Sahajiya chant the Mahamantra, yet they are attached to woman, money, and intoxication. Although such persons may chant the holy name of the Lord, they are not yet purified. Such people should be respected within one's mind, but their association should be avoided. Those who are innocent but simply carried away by bad association should be shown favor if they are eager to receive proper instructions from pure devotees. But those neophyte devotees who are actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master and are seriously engaged in carrying out the orders of the spiritual master should be offered respectful obeisances.
Hare Krishna. Several points Prabhupada mentions, which you can quickly reflect here, is this is the way to cultivate devotional service. Therefore, Srila Rupa Goswami has advised how to treat various Vaishnavas. And then Prabhupada says, we can see from practical experience, there are different categories of Vaishnavas. And then Prabhupada defines Prakrita Sahajyas, whose association should be avoided. But because they're chanting the holy names of the Lord, they should be offered respect within the mind. Generally, the offer of respect is not particularly for them. Respect is actually eventually for the Supreme Lord. Just because they're chanting the Supreme Lord's name, therefore the respect is offered like that. So, what's the thing with the Prakrita Sahajyas? They're not firmly fixed in the principles of devotional life. They are struggling with their senses, they're struggling with bad habits. Like Prabhupada mentions, they are still attached to woman, money, intoxication, they're not able to follow four regular principles, they're struggling, but they chant, like this is mentioned. So they should be respected, but from a distance. However, those who are innocent, very important point Prabhupada mentions here, those who are innocent, but simply got carried away by bad association should be shown favor. We all will come across those who are around here for several years, and so we have come across already. You see, there would be a person, if you happen to meet him, would look like completely a wild individual. Long hairs, funky dress, hip hop style of character, probably smokes a cigarette, he takes intoxication regularly. Just looking at from this external parameter, somebody may draw a conclusion, iska to kuch nahi ho sakta. He's too much into, nonsensical activities. So I was making a point, but it is potentially possible that such a person could be innocent, but because of bad association, he got carried away. Now, the same person, I have seen it so many times, but the same person may have a very appropriate attitude. He wants to learn. He may sound a little challenging in the initial interactions because, now you have become taken to this lifestyle, so you have a faith in this. But when you begin to speak about Krishna consciousness, spiritual life, and truth of this world, then it's like it shakes up his reality. So he might argue, but you see the attitude of such a person, if he's a genuine, like innocent person, you see his attitude of submission would immediately manifest. And you're like, oh, I would like to know. You tell him to do something, he will do it very attentively because he knows, I have been cheated. So that's what Prabhupada is saying. Those who are innocent, they should be shown favor if they're eager to receive proper instructions from pure devotee. Whereas there could be some people who you may call as having a good Brahminical culture and background, but they are quite egoistic. हमें सब पता है, क्या बताओगे आप? हाँ, बस चैंटिंग ही करनी है ना, ठीक है, 4 नियम तो पालन करने हैं ना, हम तो करते आए हैं. ये क्या है, सुबह उठना होता है, ये क्या है, प्रणाम करना होता है. They always have this, नहीं हम अभी नहीं कर सकते. Anything you tell them, they have an excuse. No, we can't do this. No, we cannot do that. So it's a wrong attitude. I mean, they might have come from a little cleaner background. They might have not done so much hodgepodge with their life, but because of this attitude of not accepting things as it is, the attitude of always giving excuses, deprives them of receiving mercy and deprives them from making a progress. They continue to struggle and they continue to justify their struggle. Prabhu, because this is because of this. Prabhu, this is because of this. Prabhu, I didn't sleep properly. Prabhu, because I didn't do. Now, they will not accept the fact. Why didn't they sleep properly? Because they overate. And the whole night their stomach was aching. Maybe their health doesn't permit certain items, but they ate it. They'll not accept it. No, Prabhu, my health is like this. My body is like this. So those who live on excuses, their life on excuses, they deprive themselves from the mercy and they deprive themselves from making progress. And they're just cheating themselves. That's the point here. They're not innocent people, actually. So those who are innocent means what? Those willing to follow. All right, yes, I accept this. This is what I have to do. So they should be shown favor like that. And then Prabhupada says those who are neophyte but have been properly initiated, they should be offered respectful obeisance. Somebody was asking a question yesterday. Here's the answer, Prabhupada. All right, Mother Indu Radhika, read the next paragraph.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavana. In this Krishna consciousness movement, a chance is given to everyone without discrimination of caste, creed, or color. Everyone is invited to join this movement, sit with us, take prasada, and hear about Krishna. When we see that someone is actually interested in Krishna consciousness and wants to be initiated, we accept him as a disciple for the chanting of the holy name of the Lord. When a neophyte devotee is actually initiated and engaged in devotional service by the orders of the spiritual master, he should be accepted immediately as a bona fide Vaishnava and obeisances should be offered unto him. Out of many such Vaishnavas, one may be found to be very seriously engaged in the service of the Lord and strictly following all the regulative principles, chanting the prescribed number of rounds on japa beads, and always thinking of how to expand the Krishna consciousness movement. Such a Vaishnava should be accepted as an Uttama Adhikari, a highly advanced devotee, and his association should always be sought. The process by which a devotee becomes attached to Krishna is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Leela 4.192.
Hare Krishna. So now from this point onwards, Prabhupada begins to speak on the subject matter of Diksha. What happens at the time of Diksha? So in the previous paragraph, the mother just read, Prabhupada talks about it. Somebody has taken initiation and seriously practicing it, should be treated as a Vaishnava, should be offered all the aspects like this. And now this is a very famous verse, a very, very important verse. Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpana sei kale Krishna tare kare atma sama. At the time of initiation, when a devotee fully surrenders to the service of the Lord, Krishna accepts him to be as good as he himself. Diksha kale bhakta kare atma samarpan. At the time of Diksha, what he does? Atma samarpan. He surrenders. Sei kale, at that time, Krishna tare. At that time, what does Krishna do? Kare atma sama. He considers him to be almost like himself. He gives him awards in that situation. And then Prabhupada says, Diksha is explained in Bhakti Sandarbha by Srila Jiva Goswami. Divyam jnanam yato dadyat kurya papasya sanshayam tasmad diksheti sa prokta deshike tattvako vidhe. By Diksha, one gradually becomes disinterested in material enjoyment and gradually becomes interested in spiritual life. Divyam jnanam yato dadyat. What he receives at the time of Diksha, Divya jnana. Kuryat papasya sanshayam. And Kuryat papasya sanshayam, sanshayam becomes nullified. Tasma diksheti sa prokta. It is said to be that he has taken Diksha. Deshikesh tattva ko vidaha. All right, Mother, please read ahead.
We have seen many practical examples of this, especially in Europe and America. Many students who come to us from rich and respectable families quickly lose all interest in material enjoyment and become very eager to enter into spiritual life. Although they come from very wealthy families, many of them accept living conditions that are not very comfortable. Indeed, for Krishna's sake, they are prepared to accept any living condition as long as they can live in the temple and associate with the Vaishnavas. When one becomes so disinterested in material enjoyment, he becomes fit for initiation by the spiritual master.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, sorry to pause here. So Prabhupada, what Mother have read so far is describing the qualification for taking initiation. That's the reason I just wanted to highlight here. So Prabhupada says, they come from wealthy families, many of them accept living conditions that are not very comfortable. Indeed, for Krishna's sake, they are prepared to accept any living condition as long as they can live in the temple associated with the Vaishnavas. When one becomes so disinterested in material enjoyment, he becomes. The point is, a guru also observes a disciple or a potential student and sees, has he cultivated prerequisite detachment from material enjoyment? So therefore, before a name is recommended for initiation, this becomes one of the factors to see, has he stopped his material engagement to some degree? So some ways of saying following four regular principles, not watching movies, going to theaters, eating out, and not going out for unnecessary places for vacation, but rather going for yatras. This is some of the ways you can observe and say, yes, and not for 2 months or 4 months, has been doing that consistently over a span of, let's say, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and somebody have done it, means he's serious about it. And then he becomes qualified to be recommended for initiation. This is the way, somebody's name is recommended for initiation in our current scenario. Please go ahead, Mother.
For the advancement of spiritual life, Srimad Bhagavatam 6.1.13 prescribes tapasya dharmacharyena samena cha damena cha. When a person is serious about accepting Diksha, he must be prepared to practice austerity, celibacy, and control the mind and body. If one is so prepared and is desirous of receiving spiritual enlightenment, Divya Jnanam, he is fit for being initiated. Divyam Jnanam is technically called Tat Vijnana, or knowledge about the Supreme. Tat Vijnanartham Sagurum Eva Bhi Gachet. When one is interested in the transcendental subject matter of the absolute truth, he should be initiated. Such a person should approach a spiritual master in order to take Diksha. Srimad Bhagavatam 11.3.21 also prescribes Tasmat Gurum Prapadyete Jignasu Shreya Uttamam. When one is actually interested in the transcendental science of the absolute truth, he should approach a spiritual master. One should not accept a spiritual master without following his instructions, nor should one accept a spiritual master just to make a fashionable show of spiritual life. One must be jignasu, very much inquisitive to learn from the bona fide spiritual master. The enquiries one makes should strictly pertain to transcendental science. Jignasu Shreya Uttamam.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, fine. So, again, Prabhupada is emphasizing what's the relationship between a disciple and a guru. Disciple is ready, your student is ready to take initiation when he's inquisitive about spiritual subject matters. When do you become inquisitive about spiritual subject matter? When you have become disinterested or detached from material life. Yes or no? Think about it. It cannot go hand in hand. I'll give you an example. Imagine right now your mind is unhappy, dissatisfied with your current salary that you're receiving in a company, and you want to shift your job, and you are trying for interviews, and you're studying also for that. At this point of time, when you're kind of preoccupied, when your mind is preoccupied with the thoughts of changing job to get a better salary, what kind of inquiry can be made? Is it making sense? Can you really make an inquiry? Only inquiry you can make is, why do bad things happen to good people? Why am I not getting the job? Why am I failing an interview? That's the most you can make. You're not going to make, how do I go back? How do I make progress in bhakti? At that point of time, bhakti is all about ritual. Okay, Sulamala ka hai? Let me check. How many of you relate to it? Yes or no? So, subject, I mean, it's a very serious thing, actually. Diksha is not like, oh, I take Diksha so that I get a new name. Now I would be called Mr. Das, Mr. Dasi, like this, Mr. Das, Miss Dasi, like that, Mrs. Dasi, like that. It's not about that. Prabhupada very categorically mentioned, in fact, quote 11th canto, Tasmat Gurum Prapadyeta. Therefore, you should go and surrender to Guru. When? Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. When you're inquisitive to inquire about your highest benefit. Just like often we discuss when we go in front of the deities, how many of you have felt you become clueless? Kya chal raha hai? Kyo khade hain samne? Have you had that experience? You look around here and there, you look at the deity, you look here and there, and you come out, and then you wonder, hey, main kyo gaya tha altar ke samne? Isn't it? So that sense has not yet fully come. What exactly should we be doing in front of the deities? Why we go and take darshan deities? To offer prayers. We're getting darshan of the Lord. So what we should do? Look at any incident in the Bhagavatam. When they get darshan of the deity, what they do? Offer prayers. Why we fail to offer prayers? Because our mind was preoccupied. Even if it was not preoccupied, it was definitely not occupied with a spiritual inquiry or spiritual concern. If it was occupied with spiritual concern, it is impossible to go in front. It is impossible that you go in front of the deities and you do not offer a prayer. My dear Lord Shiva, I'm so much struggling with my anarthas. Please help me overcome it. Is here anyone who's not struggling with anarthas? How many times you go and tell the Lord Shiva about this? And if you're not talking to Lord Shiva, making a prayer like this to Lord Shiva, then what are we thinking? We're not conscious. We are in our own life, kind of a thing. So, Prabhupada says, one should not accept spiritual master without following his instructions. Nor should one accept a spiritual just to make a fashionable show of spiritual life. Fine, I mean, we are under training. So, following rules and regulation, initiation is given, that's correct. But right mood is given here that one should be inquiring only about. Prabhupada writes, the inquiries one makes should strictly pertain to transcendental science. Jigyasu Shreya Uttamam. But it's difficult. In family life, it is more so difficult. When you have cares, you have responsibilities, family responsibilities, Mind has so many subject matter to think about and to inquire about the well-being of my child, professional growth of my child, the marriage of my child. Many things comes into it like that. Hare Krishna. But I'm not trying to indicate that you should not take initiation. Point is we should at least be conscious of it. Where should my mind be? That's the point I'm trying to raise here. All right. Okay, Madan Radhika, continue with the paragraph.
The word Uttamam refers to that which is above material knowledge. Tama means the darkness of this material world, and Ut means transcendental. Generally, people are very interested in inquiring about mundane subject matters, but one has lost such interest and is simply interested in transcendental subject matters. He is quite fit for being initiated. When one is actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master, and when he seriously engages in the service of the Lord, he should be accepted as Madhyama Adhikari.
Hare Krishna. So, generally, people are interested in inquiring about mundane subject matters. Think about it. What discussion generally happens when devotees come together? I'm not saying devotees. I'm not generalizing it. Let's say in your own forum, if you see, let's say as a grasshas, when you come together, what generally is the discussion? So at the Kanishta stage, let me classify this way. At a Kanishta stage, our discussion largely would be about bodily maintenance. मेरे घर में ऐसा चल रहा है, मेरे ऑफिस में ऐसा चल रहा है, हमारी कम्युनिटी में ऐसा चल रहा है, पता है उसने ऐसा किया, उसने ऐसा वैसा बोला. So the discussion goes around this thing, even if it is a discussion of Vaishnavas, not generally to highlight the good, but generally to gossip. Prabhupada is making a point, when one is actually initiated by the bona fide spiritual master, when he seriously engages in the service of the Lord, he should be accepted Madhyamadhikari. Now, what's the state of consciousness of the Madhyamadhikari? First thing is no interest in gossip. Total disinterest in gossip. Severe aversion to fault finding and listening to fault finding. And such a person would be extremely elated and excited if in case you share any Krishna conscious message or thought or realization. Prabhu, I read this. I was so amazed. Prabhupada wrote such a beautiful point. Before you finish your statement, the person who's listening is bubbling up with enthusiasm and excitement. Oh, really? Wow. I didn't never thought like this. So this is not something, it's something we acquire it. This is the state of consciousness. There's something, it exists when we are on that stage. Unless at the stage of Madhyamadhikari. And how do we proceed to the stage of Madhyamadhikari? Of course, applying ourselves seriously, being cautious while we are in Kanishta stage. So try to avoid gossips, not to find faults. Be grateful to our seniors, to our teachers who have given us everything. These are some of the things that help us move forward easily. So, yes, now Prabhupada will next speak about glories of offenseless chanting and the process of gradual advancement. Before we go over there, any thoughts or any reflections? Anyone would like to add something to the subject matter of Diksha here? And a little bit touched upon the consciousness at Kanishta and Madhyama stage. There are several hands are up. I believe this is for reading. Okay. All right, so let's continue reading with the next part. The glories of offenseless chanting. Mother Jyoti or Deshtipat, go ahead.
The chanting of the holy names of Krishna is so sublime that if one chants the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra offenselessly, carefully, avoiding the 10 offenses, he can certainly be gradually elevated to the point of understanding that there is no difference between the holy name of the Lord and the Lord himself. One who has reached such an understanding should be very much respected by neophyte devotees. One should know for certain that without chanting the holy names of the Lord offenselessly, one cannot be a proper candidate for advancement in Krishna consciousness. In Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 22.69, it is said, Yahara Komala Shraddha Se Kanishta Jan Krame Krame Teno Bhakta Haibe Uttam. One whose faith is soft and pliable is called a neophyte. But by gradually following the process, he will rise to the platform of a first-class devotee. Everyone begins his devotional life from the neophyte state. But if one properly finishes the chanting the prescribed number of rounds of Harinam, he is elevated step by step to the highest platform, Uttam Adhikari. The Krishna consciousness movement prescribes 16 rounds daily because people in the Western countries cannot concentrate for long periods while chanting on beats. Therefore, the minimum number of rounds is prescribed. However, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur used to say that unless one chants at least 64 rounds of japa, 100,000 names, he is considered fallen, patit. According to his calculation, practically every one of us is fallen. But because we are trying to serve the Supreme Lord with all seriousness and without duplicities, we can expect the mercy of the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is famous as Patit Pavan, the deliverer of the fallen. When
Hare
Srila
Krishna. So here, so far, the discussion was about chanting offenselessly, and chanting is a means of our gradual advancement. Everyone begins their journey from Kanishta Adhikari on unified stage, and gradually they make advancement. Now, after having a discussion all this, now Prabhupada is going to speak about who is a Vaishnava. Vaishnava kehte kisko hai? That will be the discussion for the next one page. Please continue.
Prabhuji, I have a question in this connection.
Yes.
Like we understand from Bhagavad Gita that there is no loss in devotional service. It's like a resume button. We wherever we leave it in the past life, we continue from that moment from this life. So here it says, so the person, unsuccessful yogi, does he, is he born with an evolved consciousness, or does he also strive and progress through neophyte and madhyam adhikari? How do we understand that?
See, you're talking about yogi means yogi other than bhakti yogi, if I understand you correctly.
And no, even in bhakti, like in BG 2.4
correct.
means.
Even in bhakti yogi, let's say if we talk about devotee, bhakti yogi means devotee. So now, for example, somebody in his life couldn't complete his devotional practice, still has some pending purification. He would be awarded a next life accordingly, as 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the last section talks about it. Either would take birth in a very rich family, depends on after a small practice or a long practice, or would be given an opportunity to take birth in the family of Vaishnavas after a long practice of devotional life. And when he gets that opportunity, when he gets that birth, because of being born in a Vaishnava family, it becomes very easy for him to revive his consciousness. Plus, whatever he has done is not lost. He picks up from there. However, it might take a while for it to become manifested. It may take some time. It's not like that suddenly the boy who did devotional service, let's say somebody was a brahmachari all his life, but somehow couldn't really attain that perfection. Now he takes a birth to a family of a Vaishnava. Suddenly open his eyes. He says, all right, Mummy, Papa, I'm going to forest. I was brahmachari in last life. It manifests gradually, because ultimately we are conditioned by the laws of matter nature also. The body would act, the laws would act like that. Therefore, you see, we come across, many times we come across devotees who came way later than us, but they're making a very fast progress. It seems they are making a very fast progress. Not necessarily they're making a fast progress. It's just the uncovering is happening pretty quickly, because they have already accrued that much spiritual credits from the last time. And now that is uncovering is happening. And suddenly you see that the person gives a fantastic class full of realization, Some people can memorize shlokas like anything. Of course, that has a lot to do with karma also, like that. So that's the way. That's the way of it. So, in other words, where it is advised to be on the safer grounds, we don't know who is who. Accept it and give respect to all. Who is how advanced, the new devotee, who knows, he may be a Shiksha Guru from your past life. So, be careful, we don't know who is who. Okay, yes. Continue.
Yeah. When Srila Satyaraja Khan, a great devotee of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, asked the Lord how a Vaishnav should be recognized, the Lord replied, Prabhu kahe yanra mukhe suni ekabara, Krishna nama sei puja shreshta sabakara. If one hears a person say even once the word Krishna, that person should be accepted as the best man out of the common group. CC Madhya 15.106. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, Ate eva yanra mukhe eka Krishna nama, sei te Vaishnava karye tanyara samana. One who is interested in chanting the holy names of Krishna, or who by practice likes to chant Krishna's name, should be accepted as a Vaishnava and offered respects as much as such, at least within one's mind. CC Madhya 15.111. One out of four friends, a famous
one of our friends,
a famous English musician, has become attracted to chanting holy names of Krishna, and even in his records, he has several times mentioned the holy names of Krishna. At his home, he offers respect to the pictures of Krishna and also to the preachers of Krishna consciousness. In all regards, he has very high estimation for Krishna's name and Krishna's activities. Therefore, we offer respects to him without reservations. For we are actually seeing that this gentleman is advancing gradually in Krishna consciousness. Such a person should always be shown respect. The conclusion is that anyone who is trying to advance in Krishna consciousness by regularly chanting the holy names should always be respected by Vaishnavas. On the other hand, we have witnessed that some of our contemporaries who are supposed to be great preachers have gradually fallen into the material conception of life because they have failed to chant the holy names of the Lord. While giving instructions to Sanatan Goswami, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu divided devotional service into three categories. Shastra Yukti Nahi Jane Drada Shraddhavan, Madhya Adhikari se Mahabhagyavan. A person whose conclusive knowledge of the Shastras is not very strong, but who has developed firm faith in chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and who is also undeteriorated in the execution of his prescribed devotional service should be considered a Madhyam Adhikari. Such a
Hare
person.
Krishna. So now here Prabhupada begins to speak about Madhyam Adhikari, and largely now, so just to give a recap of what's going on, what Mother had been reading. So discussion began with Prabhupada talking about who is a Vaishnava. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if one hears a person say even once the word Krishna, should be accepted as a best man. Or one who's interested in chanting the holy name of Krishna, who practices the chanting of holy names of Krishna, should be accepted as Vaishnava. And then Prabhupada gives an example of George Harrison for that reason. While comparing to some of his god brothers who were steady and made a lot of progress, but gradually for not chanting the holy names of the Lord properly, they all degraded. They fell into material conception of life. Now, when Prabhupada is quoting the conversation between Sanatana Goswami and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, now the discussion comes, what's the difference between Kanishta and Madhyama? And the subject matter is of faith and knowledge. Shastra yukti nahi jane drada shraddhavana Madhyama adhikari se mahabhagyavan. So here what Sanatana Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, Shastra yukti nahi jane drada. Shastra yukti nahi jane matlab he is not completely well versed. It's not that he doesn't know scripture, he knows. Only because of the basis of scripture he has got faith. How does the faith develop? Faith cannot come without knowledge, and knowledge comes from hearing scriptures. Otherwise, what is the basis of faith? Somebody says, "Oh, I believe in Krishna, I chant Krishna." It's all sentiments, sentimentalism, if it is not because of Shastra. So Shastra nahi jane, which means he does not have complete knowledge, totally well versed nahi hai, but he's quite well versed. But Drada Shraddhavan Madhyama Adhikari say Mahabhagyavan. But he has purposes from faith in chanting the holy names of the Lord. And Dhrada, which means he's fixed up in his practice. His practice does not waver. Such a person is Madhyamadhikari and say Mahabhagyavan, very, very fortunate. A Madhyamadhikari is Shraddhavan, a staunchly faithful person, and is actually a candidate for further advancement devotion service. Therefore, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22nd chapter, 64th verse, it is said, Shraddhavan jana hai bhakti adhikari, uttama madhyama kanishta, shraddha anusari. One becomes qualified as a devotee on the elementary platform, Kanishta, intermediate platform, Madhyama, and the highest platform, according to the development of their Shraddha Anusari. Again, in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya 22nd chapter, verse number 62, it is said, Shraddha Shabde Vishwasa Kahe Sudrida Nishaya Krishna Bhakti Kaile Sarva Karma Krita Haya. By rendering transcendental service to Krishna, one automatically transforms all subsidiary activities. This confident, firm faith favorable to the discharge of devotional service is called Shraddha. What is Shraddha? I need not perform any other activity except for serving Krishna. If I serve Krishna, all other activities are nothing but subsidiary, would be taken care of automatically. Shraddha or faith in Krishna is the beginning of Krishna consciousness. Faith means strong faith. The words of Bhagavad Gita are authoritative instructions for faithful man, where whatever Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita is to be accepted as it is without interpretation. This way, the way Arjuna accepted Bhagavad Gita. After hearing Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna told Krishna, Sarvametam Ratam Manye Yanma Vadasi Keshava. Aapne jo bhi kaha hai, main usko swikarta hu as a complete truth. Making the last paragraph for today. This is the correct way of understanding Bhagavad Gita. It is called Shraddha. It is not that one accepts a portion of Bhagavad Gita according to his own whimsical interpretations and rejects another portion. This is not Shraddha. Shraddha means accepting the instructions of Bhagavad Gita in their totality, especially the last instruction. Sarvadharman parityajamam ekam sharanam vaja. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. When one becomes completely faithful in regard to this instruction, one's strong faith becomes the basis for advancing in spiritual life. Once again, one's strong faith becomes the basis for advancing in spiritual life. Hare Krishna. Next, Prabhupada will talk about what is faithful service, and Prabhupada will also discuss about who is an Uttamadhikari, and the concluding paragraph is who should we accept Diksha from. Some very important points. So that will take it tomorrow. And then we'll begin our text 6, another very important verse. So here, right now, what we discussed was about faith. Faith comes from knowledge. Knowledge comes from hearing of scriptures. In other words, unless we regularly hear or regularly read Srila Prabhupada books, then there's no question of developing from faith. What we have in the absence of knowledge, what we call as a faith, is but sentiments or sentimentalism. It can always waver like that. And Srila Prabhupada, to protect us, to help us make progress in devotional life, therefore gave his life to write his books. How much he struggled, worked harder so that we can have his books like that and we can hear. And he gave a system every morning, Bhagavatam, every evening, Bhagavad Gita class. If not, at least here for a short while, like this has been described. Okay, and then last point was, what is faith? Faith means strong faith. What is that? If Krishna wants to protect, nobody can harm. If Krishna wants to harm, nobody can protect. Serving Krishna satisfies each and everyone. We don't have to worry about anything else. No other rules and regulation, no other, despite after coming Krishna consciousness, many people you will see still follows different vows. different practices. That's Kanishta stage. You know, once you've accepted shelter of Krishna, once you're serving Krishna, now you don't have to do all these other vratas. Do Ekadashi vrata. Why have to do Somvar vrata, Mangalvar vrata, Budhvar vrata? You know, why to do all the things? So that means strong faith. If Krishna, that's the reason Prabhupada says, by rendering transcendental service to Krishna, one automatically performs all subsidiary activities. That's what Prabhupada qualifies as faith. Hare Krishna. We pause here. If in case any comments or question, we can take it. Or we conclude here for today. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Yes, Mother Priyanka, you have something? Go ahead.
Prabhuji, how to decide one's bhakti is completed in one particular life, or who decides?
Not very clear. Say that again.
How to decide once bhakti is completed in a particular life?
How to decide? What is there to decide? If it is completed, Nitya Haribol, you'll have 4 hands. If not completed, we might have 4 legs in the next life. Right? There is nothing to decide. What we have to decide is taking shelter of Guru. We have to decide to chant 16 rounds. We have to decide to study Prabhupada. That's what we have to decide. भगवान बोलते हैं कुछ मेरे लिए भी तो छोड़ दो, सब कुछ तुम ही करोगे. So this factor of our completion of bhakti life, etc., let's leave it on to him to make the choice, decision. All right, Mother?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki, Srila Rupa Goswami ki, Upadesha Amrita ki. Thank you.